And during that time, have you held any stock in any companies founded in China?
I don't believe so.
Well, you do own stock in a company known as Elite Depot, don't you?
Which one, sorry?
Elite Depot. You own stock.
I think that's, I'll have to get back to you. I think it's a law firm and it's a company out of Singapore.
Okay, well, no, the company out of Singapore, which is owned by Elite Depot, is the Shein company, which was founded in China, correct?
That company operates out of Taiwan.
Well, they changed their headquarters from China back in 2022 to Singapore for tax purposes, but it's owned by a Chinese billionaire. I think his name is Charlie Zhu, and you own stock in the company that owns shein.
Which I disclosed during my confirmation process.
You certainly did.
The hearing opened with a jolt. Rep. Hank Johnson put one sharp question on the table. Why is the FBI director holding stock connected to a company with Chinese origins? And in seconds, it became clear. Kosh Patel couldn't give a straightforward answer.
Director Patel, thank you for being here today. I want to first talk about the significant role that the FBI plays in combating the national security threats posed by our nation's greatest threat, our nation's greatest security threat, China and the Chinese Communist Party. It's a fact that China is America's most significant national security threat, isn't that correct?
I would say so, sir.
And you would agree with me that China wants to dominate the United States of America?
I think that's largely their plan.
And they want to dominate the world, both militarily and economically, isn't that correct?
I think so.
And sir, you've been FBI director for the last, 8 months?
7 months, yes.
7 months, and during that time, have you held any stock in any companies founded in China?
I don't believe so.
Well, you do own stock in a company known as Elite Depot, don't you?
Which one, sorry?
Elite Depot. You own stock.
I think that's, I'll have to get back to you. I think it's a law firm and it's a company out of Singapore.
Okay, well, no, the company out of Singapore, which is owned by Elite Depot, is the Shein company, which was founded in China, correct?
That company operates out of Taiwan.
Well, they changed their headquarters from China back in 2022 to Singapore for tax purposes, but it's owned by a Chinese billionaire. I think his name is Charlie Zhu, and you own stock in the company that owns shein.
Which I disclosed during my confirmation process.
You certainly did. And now, do you still hold that stock in that Chinese company?
Pursuant to the Department of Justice, who reviewed my material that was submitted during my confirmation process, I was able to hold certain stocks, and they made the decision.
You still hold the stocks that you have? You still hold on to these Chinese stocks, these stocks in this Chinese company?
I disagree that it's a Chinese company, but I was in the DOJ, when you're appointed, makes a call on what you can and can't possess.
Well, now, let me ask you this. Chinese companies steal trademarks, they produce counterfeit products and sell them over the internet on platforms such as Shein. They steal intellectual property. They steal data from American companies. And to me, it seems inconsistent with your role as FBI director that you would own stock in a company that is based in a country that is the nation's premier national security threat. It's like you are putting your own financial security over the security of the nation.
I disagree with that characterization.
Well, I think the American people look at it like it's a classic situation of the fox guarding the hen house. If the FBI is charged with investigating espionage, economic espionage by companies controlled by the Chinese Communist Party, and you are the director of the FBI, you've got a conflict of interest.
Sir, I would just show if there's any intimation that I'm against.
Why are you holding on to this stock?
It wasn't a decision I made.
And it's valued at up to $5 million as of when you last reported, correct? $5 million in stock?
No, I don't follow it.
You don't follow it, but you're still making money off of it.
I don't have any money off of anything.
Well,
What I have done...
Trump's trade policies directly impact the value of that Chinese stock. Won't you agree with that?
Which trade policy? I'm not a trade expert.
Okay, all right.
But I want to tell you
Play
this.
Crazy on me today. Let me ask you this question. Why are you hiding pedophiles? Why are you shielding pedophiles? Why are you protecting pedophiles?
That is maybe the most offensive thing you could say to me, given the numbers.
Well, you have not released
Given the
Epstein
numbers
files
of pedophiles.
You were aware of the
we have
Epstein
arrested-
client list that was published in the 18,000
The gentleman has
emails
expired. The gentleman yields back.
Can you answer the
Can
question?
I just respond?
Of course, the gentleman can answer the question.
Since I took over the FBI, there has been a 33% increase.
Sir, all of that started under Christopher
Your
Wray.
time is done, but
No, it didn't.
the witness gets to
All of
answer
that
the
started
question,
under
and
the
then we'll go to our
previous,
next.
33.
FBI director, sir, and you're coming in here trying to take credit for something that a previous director
Gentlemen,
instituted and largely brought to conclusion.
I take
I
no
think it's
credit.
pretty clear
It's
that
offensive.
the director
It's offensive.
has numbers are so
incorrect
much
also.
better than the previous director.
It's
Dr. Patel, if you want to
I take-
answer the question.
I take no credit. The men and women of the FBI have seen a 33% increase in the number of counterintelligence arrests out of the PRC.
So all of a sudden, when
And
you
the-
coming in 7 months ago,
and,
Gentlemen's time has
Heaven on earth.
expired.
and on the
sir,
pedophile
American public not gonna
accusation,
go for that.
we have arrested 1,500 child predators in the last 7 months.
Under
That's more
investigations
than
initiated by
anybody
the prior
Rep. Hank Johnson knew exactly what he was doing when he opened this exchange. He didn't ease into the subject. He anchored his entire line of questioning in national security, the one area where hesitation from an FBI director is simply not an option. China, he reminded everyone, isn't just another foreign competitor. It is America's top geopolitical rival, a government that targets U.S. industries, steals intellectual property, and operates long-term influence and espionage campaigns. And the FBI is the agency on the front line of that fight. That context wasn't filler. It was the foundation for the conflict of interest that Johnson was about to expose. He laid it out plainly. Kosh Patel, the man leading the FBI and overseeing investigations that directly involve the Chinese Communist Party, personally owns stock connected to a company with Chinese origins. A company tied to the founder of Shein, a billionaire with deep roots in China. And once that was on the table, the tension in the room shifted instantly. Patel tried to soften it. He said the company was headquartered in Singapore, or Taiwan, or that it wasn't really Chinese at all. But Johnson came prepared. The corporate paperwork might have shifted, he said, but the ownership trail leads straight back to China. And when the director of the FBI is holding up to $5 million in stock linked to a foreign company tied to America's chief adversary, the problem isn't just the optics, it's the conflict that comes with it. Johnson's message was simple. You can't lead America's counter-espionage efforts while holding a financial stake in the very ecosystem you're supposed to be monitoring. Patel insisted DOJ's ethics team approve the holdings, but Johnson didn't budge. Approval doesn't eliminate public distrust. Approval doesn't erase conflicting incentives. And approval certainly doesn't erase the perception that the FBI director could financially benefit from shifts in U.S.-China policy, shifts the FBI itself might influence. Patel tried distancing himself from the money, saying he doesn't follow the stock, doesn't track the profits, doesn't make decisions related to it. But Johnson cut through that quickly. Whether Patel checks the stock price or not has nothing to do with the underlying conflict. The issue is structural, not emotional. And then the hearing took an entirely different turn. Johnson pivoted, not abruptly, but strategically. into another area where he believes trust has eroded: transparency on cases involving exploited children and the withholding of critical information related to high-profile investigations. His tone sharpened. Patel called the accusation offensive. The room shifted from tense questioning to open friction. What followed was a breakdown happening in real time. Members interrupted each other. Committee rules dissolved into crosstalk. Johnson accused Patel of withholding vital information. Patel accused Johnson of twisting his record. Other lawmakers stepped in. The hearing transformed into a public display of frustration, mistrust, and competing narratives. But underneath all of that chaos was the same point Johnson started with. If the FBI director is entangled in contradictions, evasions, and unanswered questions, whether financial or operational, then the credibility of the institution itself comes into doubt. The trust between oversight and leadership cracks, and once that crack is visible to the public, it doesn't go away easily. This exchange wasn't just about one stock, one accusation, or one clash. It was about the broader concern. An FBI director who can't clearly separate personal interests from public duty, and a Congress increasingly unwilling to accept ambiguity from the person responsible for safeguarding national security. What happened here wasn't just tense, it was revealing, and it raised far more questions than Patel was able or willing to answer.